Hello, welcome pen friends. Today I've got a kind of a special video for you in that I'm really excited to do this. And what I'm going to talk about is 7 pens that have worked out really well for me in introducing fountain pens to a local friend of mine who just loves pens and notebooks and journaling and all that, but had never written with fountain pens. And this has been going on a couple years. I can't actually remember when we first started. In the second part, I'm hoping to have a little bit more input. She's working on a list of what order she would put these in, but she already told me which 2 are her favorite. So I've got my pens that are matching or, similar, not matching, you know what I mean, the one of each that I'm going to talk about. Because that was part of my criteria when I was deciding which ones to share with her. I need to be familiar with them enough to be able to be of help if something went wrong. And we've had a lot of fun. But I thought, well, this could help somebody who's either trying to introduce a person to fountain pens, or it could help somebody who's new to the hobby, or it could just be interesting, the things that we bump into as we, talk about these pens, because I also have my first. Well, this is not my exact first fountain pen, but it's a model of, it's the same model. It's actually a Pilot Metropolitan. So I'm going to try to work in some of the things that went wrong for me with that pen when I, first started, or that model pen. Anyway, I think what we'll do is we'll go through what the pens are, and then I'll see what order. I may not stick with this order, but I do also want to talk about storage, because that's been something that I had a goal right from the beginning, not to leave my friend hanging for, how to keep these stored. Because even your platinum preppies, which are, is the first one we'll talk about, they can crack and might as well get right off on the right start of having somewhere to put the pens. So I can remember in the very, very beginning, I gave her a little handmade 2-pen sleeve thing. And so for a long time, I believe it was the Preppy and the Kakuno that she had in there. But I know this is going to get a little bit off track. I do have notes just in case, but it's because I'm so excited about it. Because I also think there are people out there who want to get started and are a little bit intimidated by the whole thing. So as we talk about these pens, I also want to talk about how this was gradual. It's not like I handed her these 7 fountain pens and something to put them in and let me know how it goes kind of thing. No, we went kind of slow. I talked to her yesterday and got permission to tell the story. I'm going to keep her anonymous and everything, but it could be that later, more will be revealed, because I think it'll be fun to see in part 2 how she rates the pens, all 7 of them. And they're all kind of different, in their own way. So let's do that first. So if I remember right, and I could get the order of this a little bit mixed up, but in my mind, this is kind of the progression or approximate progression. We started with a platinum preppy, and mine is black, but hers is red because she likes red and pink inks. And so I know that I've done several cartridges, so we're mainly sticking with cartridges, but sometimes I used an ink syringe to refill them. So, this is over quite a bit of time. But I think we'll come back through, because there's specific things I want to say about each one. But so number 1 was the Platinum Preppy. It is the 03, the fine nib. And yeah, we have more to say about that, but we're gonna kind of keep on track here, or try to. Okay, and next is the Pilot Kakuno with a medium nib. And it's the same color. So I have one too in the pink. And this one, we're also doing cartridges. And if I'm not mistaken, we're doing almost exclusively refilled cartridges, because I have lots of pinks and magentas and different colors to share. So, and we'll get to that, how we're going about this here in a minute too. And then next, and now hers is green, mine is pink, a Pilot Pereira. And let's see. I cannot recall. I think I put a converter in hers. Yeah, I think so. My converters, they play musical chairs, so I don't have a converter in mine right now. But I have a couple more of these where the converter's in, and I'll just switch them when I get ready to use this one. So there's that. Oh, and it's a medium, hers is a medium nib, okay? And I think mine is too. And then somewhere there next was a TWSBI Eco, and hers is purple. This one is a gray one, and I wanted to use this because it does have a medium nib. Not that we're going to write with them, because today's all about just laying this groundwork, discussing how this went and everything. Now, we were at least more than a year in before I got brave enough to think she might enjoy this, you know, and it's, you know, it's the only piston filler we've dealt with so far. Okay, and then next, I'm not sure which came first. It could be, it's probably that a little disposable one. So this is a little disposable one, and hers, it might have had to do with the color. Because, you know, I had a couple of these given to me, several, I think, and I kept the colors I liked, and I passed on a color for her that she liked, and I don't remember what color it was, but it's still going strong, and this one says on it, I mean, there's many different iterations of these kind, but this says Snow White FP20, and you could still find these on Amazon. But, you know, we're talking, this is Pilot Varsity. There's a couple more, I don't know if I wrote that down, disposable. There's Zebra, there's different ones, but these have been really reliable, you know. So anyway, we'll get to that in a minute. And then, okay, I had these kind of out of order. And then next was a Lamy All-Star, and this could have been an All-Star or a Safari. It's the same pen body, and the reason I did go with an All-Star is because the color that I knew was one of her preference colors, pink, and kind of a purple, and I think the pen body of hers is it may be a purple one, but I get all mixed up. I really do, because that's how it goes once your collection gets so big. But anyway, we're using a converter in the Lamy All-Star. And so that's another one of the pens. And then the new one for this, you know, for this holiday, for Christmas, was one that looks just like this, a blue TWSBI Go, with a medium nib, and I think I have a broad nib on mine, because I'm using pretty hardy paper and writing letters with most of mine. So that is it. Now, before we kind of launch into a little bit deeper into each pen and what, you know, the two favorites of hers and that kind of thing, I wanted to mention that well, I did mention that I started with a little handmade 2-pen thing, and then, I don't know, maybe a pen sleeve. And you know, those of you who know me know that I'm crazy about rickshaw stuff. So I've collected them. I mean, I used to get the Ink Journals Ink Flight boxes, which was a subscription box, and I got quite a few of these kind of sleeves. This is just a regular black one. One of mine. So I'm showing you my stuff, but this is how I outfitted her. So that she would have a 3-pen koozie, a couple of single fountain pen sleeves to keep these pens, you know, separate, especially that All-Star, because, you know, it's got a metal body. So I remember saying something about keep that one in a sleeve or whatever. And then, okay, and then a koozie case, not like this one, a different color. So she's got a place to put them in, and in fact, this week when she stopped by and I got her pens to clean and refill, they were all in her koozie case, and I remember thinking, oh, I don't know that I would have passed my koozie case in. I would have put them in a plastic bag inside their little, you know, cases, because I'm so attached to mine. But anyway, that's just my crazy mind. So there's a little index card that I put in with what ink I put in the pens. So I guess you're probably getting a picture that okay, first of all, my friend still works full-time. So we haven't gotten into the part where I give her bottles of ink and start showing you or telling how to fill them and all that. But because part of the fun here is almost like a mini little pen club of 2, where I can, you know, introduce her to different colors, and I know her basic, like I know she loves green and purple and pink and certain colors, you know, and so, and we did a turquoise this time too. That was just me, you know, trying it out. But, so it just works so fun. And I do think that if you have somebody in your life that's either local or lives with you or near you, or, something like that, I do think that starting this way might be the way to go, to fill the pens or get the cartridges, make sure things are going well. And what I love about it now is the pens are coming back to me just sort of out of ink, but still writing. Because I had said, don't let them go completely dried out if you can help it, because, we live so close. Because that way they're easier to, and I can see how they're still writing, whether the nib itself is giving any trouble. I always write with them. Well, before, if it has any ink at all left, and after I fill them, I do an index card showing her, what I put in there, because then, she'd be able, I staple it to the last card this time, to the top. And if the ink turns out to be a favorite, it's a good way to remember. I will not remember, a week later or 2 weeks later. I probably won't remember, except for I do remember that I put, Diamine lavender in the TWSBI Eco, because I was so excited to show her how that color looks. So this has been delightful for me, but it's also given me such a perspective, because I have pens in my collection, and this would need to be another part. If I'm going to talk about pens that I just wouldn't hand to a newbie, that would be a different video. But I really think it over before I give someone a fountain pen that I think might give them trouble. And well, here's one. The first fountain pen that I had, I wouldn't give to a new person, but it's probably maybe I was jinxed. Maybe it just didn't go well because of my ink choice, or maybe I let it, I was so new I could have let it dried up. But the Pilot Metropolitan is one that I haven't been ready to, I have extras, but haven't been ready to go there, even though it writes so perfectly. But my very first experience with this pen was that I put a cartridge in it, and then things just didn't happen. And then finally they did, but I was really scared and frustrated, nervous, So I know how that feels when you start with something that, and I paid $15 for it, and I thought, well, why isn't it starting up? Well, it did eventually, and I learned to kind of, put the cap on and kind of tilt it on something and be patient and all that kind of thing. I would greatly prefer a converter for that. So now this one has a converter, but I just bypassed that to begin with. I took one look at this converter here, and I thought, oh, I can't see into it. So it drove me nuts. So I know these things even though my memory may be a little rusty from 9 years ago, yeah, now I think after a couple years writing with some of these, the terminology is coming online, and, converter and cartridge, and even maybe piston filler, although I don't know. I think I just said, hey, these don't dry up, just enjoy it, right? Because it just writes and you never have to worry about it. That may have been my comment on that one, knowing that the ink was going to last a long time. So, okay, so I think I've covered the groundwork here. This is how I introduced my friend, locally to fountain pens, and she's really enjoying it, which is so cool. And she's introduced me to some gel pens and different pens that are new to me, which hopefully those will turn up in a video here sometime soon too, because I have a whole pen case of pens that are not fountain pens. Shock, right? Shocking. Shockingly, I guess. But I love journaling, and I'll run into a notebook where the fountain pens do bleed through, but I still want to use the notebook. So I have a whole bunch of, that I'm using up and that I'm enjoying very much. Can't even think of one right now because I don't use the G2s anymore. I've already emptied out and finished all of those, although I do have a pencil here that's a Pilot G2 pencil. I'm trying to think the name of the one. I can't even think. That's for another day anyway, because all this excitement has my brain just focused right here on this tray of stuff. But, okay, so I was going to say, do you want to guess what her favorite out of these 7 fountain pens are? You could put it in the comments. I won't know when you when you saw the answer, but here's the answer. So yesterday she said that this one, the Lamy All-Star, is her favorite. And and it has a medium nib. And, oh, I was trying to think of what the ink, we're going to talk about inks too, but I wish I'd kept, as an experiment like this, I wish I'd kept better track, like kept an index card for me as well, because then I'd know what I'd already used, but I'm just not that organized. I'm busy too, but in a different way, and so I don't know. But definitely something's going on with the smoothness. And this, like I said, this is a German-made pen. These are really solid choices. I mean, I love mine. I haven't run into one I haven't liked. And of course, I've got a lot of different nibs. So when I put the nib on, I tested it out, made sure it was, one that was smooth for her and everything. But because I think the pen that I had maybe had a broad nib on it, but I was thinking quite a bit about what kind of paper someone might be using that isn't getting Tomoe River paper. We haven't gone into that kind of thing yet. But I know there's really great papers available in Mardell's and Hobby Lobby and Walmart here locally. So I'm aware of some of the planners and papers that she's using. So, okay. And then number 2, her second favorite. Now this really surprised me. It was the Pilot Prera. And it's a green one, and I know I put at least once Colorverse Supernatural. So at least on that one, I could tell you that using a little converter and putting in, we may have started with a cartridge, but I think we're into a converter now. So let's see. Oh yeah, I did, and I made a list. So that's it for today as far as favorite and second favorite. We may have a full ranking one of these days, down the road, maybe even soon. But I did make some notes on typical inks that I've been using for her. And Diamine kind of tops the list, and then Pilot. So Pilot inks. So I really like to put Pilot inks in these Pilot pens. I really do. And I think that makes a difference. And then I'm using, let's see, I think right now still a red cartridge in her Platinum Preppy, and that's been doing well, but the Preppy is the only pen that she mentioned feels a little bit scratchy to her, which I think is what you'd call feedback. And I too am very sensitive to feedback, but I did not smooth hers right away because some people really like the feedback. But now that I know, when it comes back into the garage again, when it comes back over to me again, I'm going to give it a little bit of micro mesh smoothing, just a little bit, because that's all I did with this one. This is one I've had a long, long time, and it's super smooth. So I think we could take care of that. I'm so glad that she mentioned it, because I want to make sure that it's writing real smooth. Let's see, what else? So the Diamine inks, the Pilot inks and cartridges, the Platinum cartridge. Then I've used Colorverse a couple times, and definitely Lamy. I used Lamy Turquoise this time, so we'll get a report back on that. That's in the TWSBI Go. And Pilot Murasaki Shikabue, that's a repeat because I said Pilot inks. And I also remember, I don't remember which pen I put it in. I used Rohr & Klinger Solferino, which is just a bright kind of fuchsia magenta ink that's gorgeous. And that pen was unstoppable. I mean, I believe it was in one of the Pilot. I'm just not sure which one. And that's got the same nib, but I do think there's a little bit of difference. May even have the same, let's see. No, the feeds and nibs are the same, so it really probably doesn't matter. This is just aesthetics, because the feed and nib are the same, or they look the same. Anyway, and they're both medium on hers, so. Okay, what else did I scroll down? Oh yeah, and we're getting in, this time we got into some Waringo Pride and Prejudice. And yeah, so this has been super fun. But now what I'd like to talk about, and I think it's related, is I want people to understand, especially if you're new or if you're starting someone out who's new with fountain pens, that I think it's super normal to be intimidated by the fountain pens. The first thing that really, really got to me was changing nibs. And it's something that enhances the hobby so much if you can pull the nibs out and change them. But I was just petrified. And we're talking about in a Chinese Jinhao X750. Even though I knew it would be okay no matter what happened, really. Even if I did break the feed, I could. Now I have all these parts. But at the time, I'm talking about, 9 years ago, 9 years ago, I didn't have a bunch of parts for pens that had been, oops, all apart into pieces. And then the next really, really intimidating thing for me was vacuum fillers, both filling the pen and cleaning it. And I'll confess, it's not my favorite thing, but like I have a Twisby vacuum fill. That's the Iris. I don't have it right in front of me, but I really, really like that pen. So it's worth it for me to just watch a quick video or just slow down, try to get it filled right and clean it right. But I get a little bit frustrated because, I think I mentioned this before, but I want to spend 99% of my time writing and 1% filling them and cleaning them. That isn't totally realistic at the level that I'm at, because I have to have a dozen or more inked. So I have to be prepared to spend at least 5% of my time, on maintenance. But I find it one of the most fun things in the world to choose different. Like I stick with green in my friend's Prairie that's green, but I can go to different. Like I know I did a Diamond Sherwood green, and this time I did a real bright. I don't know why, it's going to be January, still winter, but I picked the Colorverse Supernatural, I think. And my phone has I took a picture of the index card so I could this time remember what inks I had put in there, even if we lose the index card. So yeah, I guess my advice would be, for someone especially that's not long distance to you, fill up the pens. Make sure they write. Test them out, before you hand it over. Because something could still go wrong, but with good communication, you'll find that out. And then consider storage right up front. I think it's real important, and it certainly doesn't have to be rickshaw, but because I've been in the business, 9 years now, I've got quite a collection, and it feels better to share it than to hoard it. So that's really fun. And then, cartridges can be really, really excellent to start with. I have felt all along that for a sure thing with my preppies, their cartridges are really good. And we have had excellent luck with the red cartridges in her red one. So there's that. But I've also done many, many refills. And I'm talking about mine now, because those have lasted. Those never seem to. Well, I think one time hers dried up, but we waited too long, I think, to do a good cleaning. Yeah, let's see. And then, of course, I'm not afraid to use the converters, even though they hold a little bit less. But as the collection grows, so now there's 7 pens, that I know that each pen may not get written with quite as much than when there were like 3 or 4. So I kind of keep that in mind. And you can, if you're doing this as a do-it-yourself, keep that in mind too. The more you have inked, the less you'll actually probably have time, because you can only write with 1 pen at a time. So you'll find yourself realizing, oh, I got to get around, I got to exercise these pens. That's what one of my pen friends used to tell me. Got to get around and try them out. Now, there's certainly lots of other pens you could start someone out on, but I really, really wanted to think hard about it, make sure I had one so that I could kind of test out, and have enough experience to figure out what good combinations might be for them. Now I'm trying to think if there was anything else to say. I mean, I made quite a few notes, and yet I still thought that I might have even more to say. But yeah, sometimes you just come to where you have not a blank, but this has just been so much fun. And, there are no pen clubs here. I tried one year to really tried to start a pen club, and it was just me and Manuel, so we didn't manage to find any at the time here in Corpus Christi, Texas. So I'm hoping that'll change someday. It's way too far for me to go up to Dallas-Fort Worth. So, and then just not being afraid to try things out. The more pens and little samples and items in the hobby that you do collect, because it isn't something, I don't think it's something where you can just go online, order you a kit, and then you're set. you know. It's more the fun. One of the main fun parts in the hobby is where you just kind of keep adding things gradually. Like say you get a Pilot Kakuno and it comes with a cartridge. You might want to get next you might want to get a syringe and learn how to refill that cartridge and clean it. But then you may decide, well, I think I'd rather have a converter in there, and that's something you can do too. So just little by little over the years, choosing different ways to explore the same pen. And obviously ink it's been my number one way to make an experience with a pen new. You know, because most of my pens, not all of them, but most of them, I just stick to writing with broad nibs, like this Lamy All-Star. It's got a broad nib for my letter writing, and I super enjoy that. And that's another thing. I have not started my friend on broad nibs yet, but I need to kind of be aware even more of the paper situation before I do that. Because I really think that fine and medium's my preference for a newcomer, I think, because that's where I started, and I found it could be used on more papers and didn't come with as many scratchiness issues in terms of if you go with extra fine or fine, and if you're not using the coated paper or the nice, really smooth papers, then you can run into all kinds of things. But a medium nib, it closely kind of resembled what I was doing with my Pentel Energel gel pens. So it's kind of a lateral move, you know, or if that even makes sense. And that's how it was for me. And so I was firmly established with all these medium nibs when I finally realized, oh, broad nibs are really fun. You know, they show off these inks and they are really fun for letter writing. And I have really big writing. So the size of your writing matters too. I think another thing that just pops into my mind is that nowadays you can Google so many things. You can specifically just ask any question and literally get some pretty good, you know, get directed toward where you can get better answers. I do this all the time with many subjects, but if you had something you weren't sure if a certain ink should go in a pen and you've got the bottle in front of you, you can just type it right in. Can I use blah, blah, blah ink in my fountain pen? And always take the time to do that. And then you won't really have to worry. You're just getting kind of an opinion there real quick. You know, you don't even have to watch a video, you know, to do that. Just do a quick check, because almost always it'll pop up immediately. No, you know, if it's calligraphy ink, no, and that kind of thing. But they're really, you know, there aren't that many different types, so you're not going to run into that often. But I think this is the video for part one. And I wanted to share the whole idea of how much fun this has been, getting someone started in fountain pens. And there was a lot in my mind as far as like, you know, is this going to work? But I think the advantage is having this friend local and being able to, for me, to write with them before handing them over, knowing, okay, it was working real good. And, you know, because I just remember quite a few adventures in things, not like dry inks that were maybe way too light colored or that kind of thing when I started. And I'd be so disappointed because it would look so pretty in the swatch. And then, especially with oranges and colors like that, like, well, yellow and gold are always a problem for me. But even with the orange, until I realized that burned orange and kind of more of a, like a KWZ Monarch or let's see, somebody has burned orange. Is that Diamine or is that? I'm not really sure right offhand. I came over here because I didn't want to, this is my library room. I didn't want Manuel to have to turn down the TV, and Coco's sleeping here. But if I went over into my pen area to do this video, he would be up there on the pen desk. But I think he's like right across from me sleeping. He can see me and hear me, and I think he understands what's going on. And so maybe he's just tired too, because we had some drama last night. We had, starting at I think 3 a.m. and then again at 5 a.m. we had two cats outside, unknown to me. I don't know one of them. One of them I've seen in the neighborhood, just yelling at each other. So That was kind of scary for them and a little bit disruptive. But so now they're sleepy, all three of mine. But let me know in the comments, are you just starting in the hobby? And is this kind of content useful to you in terms of, I'm sure you'll have more questions if you are just starting. And in fact, I seem like I wanted to go a layer deeper on each of the pens, but I don't, I think really I'm only equipped to talk about my experience with them. So maybe let's just do that before I end the video. So my experience with the Platinum Preppy has been that I like their black ink and and I like their red ink. And then the inks that I choose to refill them with, I've had real good luck with Monteverde inks, and I've had real poor luck with some others, but I don't keep good records. That's something that ought to be a resolution or a goal or intention for 2026. I need to keep better records. But this has been a great pen for jotter, for grocery lists, for everything. Just carry with me. I have had a couple of them crack, but it hasn't affected their writing ability. And the cracking is usually in the cap. This one doesn't seem to have any. So, and sometimes I'll have the wrong cap on, like I'll have a 05 cap on a 03 pen because I have had a cracked. It was not really recoverable, but they're very inexpensive, or they used to be. They used to be under $5 now. I don't know. I don't even want to look. But then, okay, Pilot Prera. This is a pen that I never purchased one for myself. I still haven't. These came as when a pen friend was downsizing their collection and sent me a whole bunch of them, and I was just thrilled because, I love them. I had the little, I guess it was a Wing Sung, and the numbers 3003 or something. Anyway, I don't remember. It's a look-alike, but these are really nice with those genuine Pilot nibs on them, and the option of using a converter or a little cartridge. So I have really loved these, and I like the CM, which is sort of like a calligraphy nib, like a stub nib, only it's, yeah. So anyway, I've had a real good experience with these, and I felt like it would write long enough for my friend. It wouldn't dry up, right away, and it would probably be very reliable. Okay, Pilot Kakuno. I've had some mixed results with these, so I'm very careful about the ink I put in for her. And maybe, again, this is a matter of keeping better records, because I have had some where it just didn't, it would just very, very irksome. So I've kind of keep asking, is that pen writing, and how's it? And I always check it when it comes back in to see, is it still writing? So yeah, this year I'll try to really keep, snap pictures of the little index card and keep track, because I'd like to have the data for myself too as to what writes really well in these. Their cartridges always seem to, but that's not, I don't buy cartridges anymore that are filled. I'm using up some old stock and just refilling with a syringe. But I have a lot of Pilot ink, so I should be okay for 1 or 2 lifetimes. Okay, and then Twisbico, everybody that knows me knows that this is one of my favorite pens, so I was really, really thrilled to, as a birthday gift, to give my friend one of these. And it is, a piston filler that just, you draw, yeah, it might help if I took that off. Draw it up and then stick it in the ink and fill it right up with ink. And they last a long time, and they never seem to dry up. So I've had a couple that have cracked, but Twisby stands behind the parts. So if that happens, I just send the mailing money and they replace the part, and it's all good. Takes a little bit of something to, get in there and replace it. Watch a video usually by SBRE Brown or Brian Goulet, and I'm back in the works. Then this little one, I've had really a lot of fun with disposable fountain pens. So if you want something where you're just not troubling with cartridges and converters and pistons and bottles of ink, these are fun. I mean, they really are. And kicking around this house, I've got about 3 Pilot Varsities. You can find them just about anywhere. Even my grocery store has them. But, they're just a lot of fun. And, of course, I'm not going to be able to resist trying to figure out whether, I'll bet you that would pull out when it's done, and I could probably refill it but I'm not sure that I will because, yeah, I might, though. I probably can't resist. I'm just like the ink miser or whatever. Okay, so then next up, Lamy All-Star. And Lamy All-Star is the metal pen. And Lamy Safari is the, the plastic Lego kind of material pen. Same body, same grip and everything. And you can change the nibs out to, like extra fine, medium, broad, stub nibs in 3 sizes. It just, woo, that makes it really fantastic. And all of mine, including the one I sent over to my friend, use the converters. But I was thinking about that and I thought, next time she travels, I'll probably send her like a couple of cartridges that she could just pop in and so on. And then if she ran out, she could pop another one right in. So, because every time you buy one, you get a cartridge. And if you're not using them, they kind of pile up. So I have a little plastic box and they're full of cartridges. So isn't that what we do? Those of us that are really fountain pen enthusiasts. Okay, and last but not least, the TWSBI Go. Now, the TWSBI Go is very interesting. I love how lightweight this is and how you could post the cap or not post it. And I like the look of it because I kind of like a real modern looking pen. Obviously, you could tell from all these that, that I favor. But after time, lots of time, then the spring mechanism has to be serviced. You have to get in there, and I have a video on how to do that. Otherwise, I wouldn't remember either. I'd have to go look at, and I've actually looked at my own video to remember how to do this because, there's quite a few parts involved and things fly all over, and so I need to remember how to put it. But basically, since it doesn't have ink, I could show you. Well, my trigger finger may not be the best. So you depress it like this, stick it in the ink, and then let go. And see, this one's nice and, fixed up. So it's ready to go. And then the ink just draws up in there. So, because I'm trying, it's hard for me to be fountain pen newcomer friendly now because, and remember how much I didn't know before because it just seems to be already there. And like my husband will say, well, I can't read your mind. You got to tell me. So, other than the fact that after a couple years, you've got to do some maintenance on these if you're using them heavily. I love them. They're pretty. They're, like modern or, I still prefer the TWSBI Eco, I think. And I'm really getting bonded now with that, with the one further down the line, which is the TWSBI Diamond 580s. So at first I was like, Of course, they're up there in price range. And so they don't attract me the way being able to have these colors, if I can buy 2 for the price of 1 of that, then I get more flexibility in color matching and I like that. I really do. So, okay, now I think I've probably covered everything and then some in the kitchen sink. But I really believe there will be a part 2 and 3 to this. It's just that it could take a while. It's not going to be immediate because I'm not prepared yet. But I'm thinking that based on your comments, if you like this kind of thing, and if there was something in here that was useful to you, then it definitely probably will extend at least another couple of episodes because I think it would be fun to do one on my own personal experience of pens that I probably would not pass on to someone else. No way, because I just feel like, in fact, when I look at my pen collection now and I'm trying to thin it out, I think to myself, do I really want to put somebody else through this? No. But then I wonder, because I'll revisit pens sometimes and it'll work out totally differently. So I do think it has specifically to do with the nib and the ink and the paper. And so you really have to be like a little scientist if you're a fountain pen user that also does your own maintenance and inking and filling and all that, So, okay, I'm going to close it here. I'm like, hopefully nothing will go wrong with this because I have a friend that another friend, not the one mentioned, that likes to watch or listen on Monday mornings. So this is Sunday and I'm up against this. So have a great week and a happy new year if I don't see you before then. And give me plenty of feedback so I'll know. And ask questions, because that's how I'll know what I'm forgetting to mention. Okay? And thank you for being here. And also, please let me know if on these new videos, if you're seeing ads, because I'm not putting ads, and I'd just like to become aware before I close that window, or before I possibly may and probably will demonetize. I'd like to know what YouTube's doing to the videos that I don't actually monetize. Does that make sense? If it does, please let me know in the comments if you're seeing ads. You probably are, because I think, you know, we had to agree to terms that they can do that, whether you are part of the partner program or not. So I'll see you next time. Bye for now.